glue up of the first leg has had a chance to dry. Let's take it out of the clamps and see how it looks. Oh, that's nice and flat. That's cool. That looks great. So if we look at the picture of our stool, this leg goes almost all the way to the top. There's about another ½ inch on the seat. So that'll give us about 20, somewhere between 26.5 and 27. And my old stool, if you look at that, is right about 26, just a little bit shy. So it should be just about an inch higher than that. We have a little bit of discoloration here from the clamps, but I think that's going to come off with the planer. And we just scrape it. So I'm trying some new things here, make my life a little easier. And let's try to tape this on. There we go. Now that'll stay in place, so I don't have to fiddle with it all the time. And we'll come back with our 2 outside clamps here, inside clamps here, and our center bar. There. Before we start to do any planing, what I really like to do is make sure that the in-feet and out-feet tables are really flat. Because when the material goes in, if you don't get that flat, you can get kind of a step. That's pretty good. I'll take that. I got about 10 thousandths to do a little sanding with. I'll put that one over there. All good. So I laid out all the lines for cutting out the leg. And I think the most critical one is this big angle here that I eventually make into 245s. They all meet in the center. So I think this is really my critical part. So I was very careful to measure that. I'm going to cut it with the circular saw, and then the rest of it I can kind of just cut out with the jigsaw because it's not that critical. Especially like the bottom and the top. Those angles are really just reliefs right here. This angle is just a relief. The seat actually sits here, fits around there and sits here. And then this is just a relief. You'd kind of see that through the caning. And then the foot goes on the ground here, and then this is just a relief. So it doesn't even really matter what angle that is. But this is the real critical one because they have to set at an angle where this is flat and this is straight up. So this and this are perpendicular, as well as this and this are perpendicular. So that's in the leg angles. So that's the way it goes. So let's make our first cut by cutting out this part. I measured it quite a few times and I don't think there's anything left but to give it a saw. That's pretty good. Pretty much follows the line. All right. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is take my other piece and match it up and see how close I got. All right, so if I take my my first piece, and I put it here, line her up real good. That looks really nice. That looks great. I'm super happy with that. So I can go ahead and make my 45s. This one I haven't quite done the complete 45 yet. I'm going to do it in a couple of steps, and I figured rather than reset it each time I do a leg, I'll just do all of them at the same time. But this looks pretty good. So the next thing we're going to do is clamp this thing down and get the jigsaw going. I think we can make all these cuts. So I'd make a cut there to there, and then it's a different angle here. Okay, matching it up with the first leg. I think that looks pretty good. They're pretty darn close, about as close as I can get it. And then, so let's get the router up here, and we'll start with the 45s, the first pass of the 45s. All right, so we'll get the router table up here. What we're going to do is we're just going to run this down this edge and flip it over and run it down the other edge. After I got the first of these legs cut out, what I did is I went back and I put it on top of the other ones, kind of traced it out. That seemed to be the easiest way to do it rather than to plot out the dimensions on all four. Was just to do one and then do that. I finished gluing up the other two legs, put those through the planer to get down to 1 inch. Then I readjusted my router table to do a 45 along all these corners where all four of them meet. And then the next thing I did was work on this little top feature, and I'll show you that now. I took this socket, which is 3/4, which turned out to be exactly 1 inch in diameter, and used that as kind of a guide, and drew a circle there, half circle. And so these are going to go the outside edge of the leg, and then this is going to, I'm going to relieve with a 1 inch diameter hole in the base, no, in the seat pan, and that's where this is going to fit. So then I just went and kind of shaped this around here until I got it approximately the right shape. I'm probably going to have to do a little bit more work on these once I get them fit, but I want the whole leg assembly together. Then I'm going to put it upside down onto the seat pan, and we'll mark these, and then we'll kind of like saw these. I think kind of a common theme is when each piece goes together, I'm going to have to sand and file and adjust it a little. Then I went and I cut out this cutout and then routed both sides to make this a 1/2 inch thick to receive this. And then we will put this, goes like, and what I did is I put little designations on here, number one, so I know which one it goes to. And then this kind of goes down like this, and it fits like that. And then all four of these legs should meet in the center, theoretically, and I should be able to glue them all up. So let's go ahead and, boy, that fits good. Okay, so let's go ahead and cut. I'll show you how I cut these right now. So I went ahead and I have my slot drawn here. This is where it ends, and this is relieved halfway. This is completely cut out. So I'm going to route this whole thing, and then I'm going to come back probably with the jigsaw and cut this part out. And then the easiest way I found out is I just figured out like the size of the router and where this is going to go, and then just put some stops. This is 6 inches wide, and that works out with the about the ½ inch bit there, that it makes a 3/4 inch wide slot in that. So let me line it up and make sure it's ready to go, and then we'll route this. There. It's kind of cool. Neat. Good. We can kind of take a measurement of this to see how close to 3/4 we got. That's about 755. That is really nice. I like it. And then what I did is just remove this little thing at the end, but I'm going to leave these radiuses because it kind of matches that the foot part.
Early the next morning.
Well, unfortunately, after thorough analysis, I've come to the conclusion that I need to remake this part. It's not only that it's crooked as a potato chip, but when I laid out these slots, I just kind of put an X to find the center. Well, I didn't realize that my lines to find the center were not perpendicular. They were a little bit off. And so these, when I have two slots, they're in line, and these two are in line, but these two are not in line with each other. So that totally screws up all the legs and how they align and everything. I kind of tried to fudge it, and it's just not going to work. So let's redo that right now. So let's head out to the shed and see if we can find some wood that we can glue up to make this part over again. I've removed the new blank for the foot disc from the clamps. It's very nice and flat. I'm just going to give it a quick sand before I start marking out all the dimensions. There we go. Now let's do some layout. So the idea here is we need to do an outside circle, an inside circle, and then 4 slots. Easy, right? The mistake I did last time is I did it like this, and then I just went like this to draw an X, figuring that this was square. Well, it wasn't exactly square, so then my 2 lines were not exactly perpendicular, which sort of sucked. I assumed, and that's what happens when you assume. See, if I just drew another line there, it seemed like, oh, that's cool. That should be good, but just tip to tip. But then if you put a square on here, it is not square. So live and learn. So what I think I'll do is just find the center of this. So it's about 23 1/4. So yeah, 23 1/4. Computer, what's half of 23 1/4?
Half of 23.25 is 11.625.
Okay, so that's 11 5/8 right there. 5/8, pretty good. Okay, so now instead of just point to point, I'm going to do it this way. So I make sure that my 2 lines are perpendicular. All right. So I have a 90. These should be 90, just triple checking. And yeah, that's the way I should have done it to begin with, but alas, I did not. That's okay. Now I wonder if I should even cut out the center circle. Kind of look cool without that center circle. Do I need to cut it out? Why don't I not cut it out? And I will see how it goes. Maybe I don't need to. Yeah, that's perfect. Okay, so let's cut this sucker out. So there's a couple of ways that I could cut this out just with the jigsaw. It doesn't really do a very good job. I think I'm going to do a trammel router. Make myself a bigger one of these because it worked so cool. And we'll do it that way. So my idea is something like this. If I had, this is my router plate. Okay, now let's drill some holes. Okay, so that is my 8-inch. So then we'll put a countersink in 3 of these. Ones that mount to the router. So since we're going to do a 1/2-inch bit, okay. I think I'm going to have to readjust this height. This isn't the same thickness as the fiberboard. Should have done that first. The bigger clearance hole. Yeah, there you go. So now I'm just going to cut this out like a little bit bigger. Just a rough cut with the jigsaw, and then we'll do it with the trammel router. Okay, the trammel router worked pretty good. Just flush trimmed it. And this is what it looks like. It made a real nice surface finish and circle, a little bit of sanding, and we're right on 16 inches. So I think we're on our way to this working out pretty good. Okay, so this is my idea on how to lay this out. I did my 1/2-inch thick right here, 4 1/4. Is that 4 1/4? Deep. 4 1/4 deep. Then this is 6 inches, which should be the width of my router plate. So if I think I'll come in with a jigsaw, remove most of the material, and then I'll come back with the router on a 1/2-inch bit and just plow right through it like that. Got all the legs done. Tops ready to be cut. I don't mind stealing bread.